بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. My first introduction to, especially you could say the spiritual and the sacred culture of the East African coastline was actually in the Arabian Peninsula, but because it has such a connection. But the real kind of exposure came actually in my hometown of Manchester. There are many people from Mombasa that now live in Manchester and in London and in other parts of the UK and the West in general. So you have people from all over the coastline, from Lamu, from Malindi, from Mumbroi, from Mombasa, from Barawa, from Zanzibar. All of these places you have, people that have come, and they came with their culture, but because it was you could say like a culture that was cultivated and it was channeled. It wasn't just an expression of ego. It was purposeful, it was intentional, it was meaningful. So the cultural expression was really warm and rich, and that was my experience of that in cold and rainy Manchester. They have a great culture in food and the cuisine, and it reflects. I mean, they have like mango with spice. That's amazing. We don't get that in Manchester. Mango with spice. What an amazing mix. And the reason why I love that is because it indicates the hearts of the people. They include the spices and the richness and the sweetness and it's the mango and the spices remind me of the people of Mombasa. So I've tasted that in Manchester, and it's reminiscent, it's nostalgic. It makes me long to come back to Mombasa, and that warmness and the sacred sounds which they create in their praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is heartwarming because it comes from the heart. That which comes from the heart goes straight to the heart. And then since then it's really been a want of mine to come to Mombasa and to come and experience the East Coast in its original form, and it's amazing to see. It's a great honor to be here, and I think I'd really encourage people to come and taste it firsthand, literally and metaphorically, like practically and figuratively, that people come and experience the East Coast. It has an incredible tradition here, and my introduction, it was through just observation and seeing people, what they ate, and the religious sacred expression of music. But what really attracted me to the place was actually some of the great saints and spiritual masters and that came to this land and really infused it with this almost unspeakable reality that's very present here. There is a real soul that one feels when you're here in East Africa, and one of the that happened for many years, not only decades but centuries. I mean, we're sat now in a sacred space which is 500-600 years old. That's amazing. 500-600-year-old walls, but that was built by people that had intentions. Edifices don't stand the test of time unless they were founded by people that had connections which were connected to a higher purpose, connections which were celestial, which were deep and profound. And one of the kind of more contemporary of these great saints which walked upon the earth and the soil and traversed the blessed land of Mombasa was somebody by the name of Al-Habib Ahmed Al-Mashhur bin Taha Al-Haddad. Now the Haddad family hail from Hadramaut, and that's where I have had the honor to be exposed to something of that tradition. But he came here, and his experience was something which anyone that learns about and is even just acquainted with can't help but be inspired. It's an inspiring story. As human beings, typically we're not motivated by words on a page. We're not motivated by dry principles. We have to see those principles encapsulated and embodied in human form. And this is why, in our tradition, we have the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, who was sent. He was a human, but not like other humans. But people could see the way he ate, and they could see the way he spoke to people. They could observe his behavior, and that's what transformed people. That's what moved people. And this tradition lives on. It didn't die. It was passed on with the people around him that just fell in love with him. The Sahaba, the people that took his suhbah, his companionship, and would spend every waking moment either with him or yearning to be with him. What kind of human being was that? Like, you can't fake that. That's completely real. That spiritual kind of magnetism, that pull, that somebody wanted to be with you, is just overwhelming. And I, without making a claim, but there was I suppose like a drop of that which I tasted in the people that came here from Hadramaut. That you want to be in their company because of the beauty which they give off in the way they speak, and really even when they don't speak, just their moments of silence and stillness. Communication is not just in the realms of the vocalizing, human words. It can be much more profound. And as modern peoples, often we find awkwardness in silence. We don't like turn the radio on, or turn the TV on, or put a new video on, or let me see now what's on my latest feed. We can't sit still and be quiet. It's very troublesome. It's hard for us to do. To sit for 1 minute and not think about anything. Who would have thought it had been such a hard thing to do? But that's where we're at. And these people can sit in silence, but they're constantly communicating. And the message that they communicate, if it can be encapsulated in one word, mahabba, love, mahabba. And this is an incredible word in the Arabic language. If you look at hub, it's related to hab. Hab is a seed. And similarly, with a seed, it needs fertile ground to be placed. When you place a seed in fertile ground and it's nourished and it's watered and it's cultivated, you have a tree. But first, before it becomes a tree, it's a sapling, and it's nourished and it's nurtured and it's taken care of, and it's given the right climate and habitat for it to grow. And then you have a tree. And then what can happen is you have fruits. And that thing which was once a weak, vulnerable sapling is now giving fruits and a means to give seeds and spread seeds to other forms of fertile land. That's what happened in the land of Hadramaut. And one of those seeds which came and was planted here, which was through Habib Ahmed Mashur al-Haddad. What was he spreading? What was he planted in this fertile land of Mombasa? Where you can see things grow out of buildings. It's so lush, it's so vibrant, but it's not just that. It's not just the greenery of the outward. It's the blooming which took place, and the blossoming which took place in the souls of the people that are still living here in Mombasa. And we had a great blessing of meeting some of them. What was he planting? What were the seeds that Habib Ahmed came, and the great Salaf and the great spiritual masters of this tradition, what did they come to plant, and what did they plant, and what did they water, and what did they cultivate in this fertile soil of Mombasa?